This ain't no game. It's a movie. The 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie, to be specific. This movie is an adaptation of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise of video games, which was a pop culture fixture of the 80s and 90s. The franchise sold millions of games in the decade it was around, and this makes it no surprise that movie companies wanted to adapt Mario to film. What is a surprise, however, is the result of doing so. The 1993 Mario movie is a strange, bizarre movie that is a very interesting take on the simple and vague world of Mario. Audiences and critics alike hated this movie when it came out, with it failing to make back its $48 million budget and stopping Nintendo from making movies for 3 decades. However, they're all wrong. The 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie is surprisingly great because it understands the basic fundamentals of what makes a movie great and elevates them with interesting risks. But how can I claim that? What makes a movie great? To find our answer, let's look to the words of a well-recognized and acclaimed filmmaker, Martin Scorsese. In an opinion piece for the New York Times, Scorsese discusses why he believes Marvel movies are not cinema. He claims these movies are not film, or cinema, or good, but rather closer to theme park rides. He claims this is because Marvel movies lack genuine risk and are made by market research, only to generate income. Super Mario Bros., on the other hand, does not play it safe, and does not deliver a generic movie that you've seen before. It instead uses your preconceived idea of what a Mario movie should be to surprise you and keep you hooked. Almost everywhere you look, there's a choice made that deviates from the games. The movie doesn't take place in the Mushroom Kingdom, a well-defined and popular location from the Mario franchise, but it instead takes place in Dino-Hatton, a dystopian dinosaur version of Manhattan filled with weird human-looking Goombas and Koopas. The main princess that needs to be saved is not Princess Peach, but Princess Daisy, who had only appeared in Super Mario Land and NES Open Golf Tournament at this point in time, and its main plot wasn't even really to save the princess. It's about evolution and merging dimensions. Luigi also doesn't have a mustache. The whole movie has this strange sci-fi feel that catches you completely off guard and makes you wonder what else this movie's going to do. It would have been incredibly easy for the filmmakers to have made a standard, straightforward adaptation of the Mario games and rake in lots of money, but the fact that they decided to tell a bizarre cyberpunk story that has more depth than just save the princess elevates this movie into greatness. Additionally, if this film wasn't attached to the Mario property, it would be good, but not nearly as great because all of the choices made would become standard sci-fi movie choices and not an absurd and intriguing twist on a beloved formula. However, while this movie does take many risks, that is not the only thing that makes a movie great. There are a variety of other factors that make a movie great, so are these factors present in Super Mario Bros? And what are they? Well, according to InDepthCine.com's article about what makes a movie great, the most important factors that make a movie great are story, cultural impact, technical innovation, suspending disbelief, and casting, and Super Mario Bros. Has all of those in some capacity. Starting off with the story, it has changed dramatically from the games. Instead of being primarily about rescuing a princess, it's about Mario and Luigi trying to keep a fraction of a meteorite out of the hands of King Koopa, so we can't merge the dimensions of the real world and Dino-Hatton and de-evolve everyone, taking over the world. There are intense stakes that are presented in a way that makes you care about the characters and what are happening. Mario and Luigi will be de-evolved if they're caught. This is what it looks like. It's not fun. It's intense. It's a classic underdog story with likable characters and a very interesting world. For cultural impact, this movie represents the fearful emotions and worries of the 90s, with Bowser being reimagined as a corrupt businessman in a dystopian city, rather than a king in a whimsical kingdom, even though he is still called King Koopa. There's also lots of focus on evolution and powerful technology, which mirrors the quickly evolving technology of the 90s. Speaking of evolving technology, the visual effects in this movie are very detailed, impressive, and visually appealing to me personally. There's great makeup, costumes, set, and animatronics on display. The Goombas and Yoshi specifically are very impressive and detailed animatronics. While it might look a bit dated for now, for 1993 it was ambitious, and I still think it has a lot of charm and style. For the suspension of disbelief, I can't speak for everyone, but I am captivated by the movie as a whole, and I've never gotten bored with what's going on, even when I've seen it before and it no longer surprises me. I've also shown this to a couple people, and they've had similar reactions to mine. It is absolutely not a movie that makes you want to be on your phone in the middle of it. It is engrossing all the way through. Finally, ending with casting, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as Mario and Luigi Mario have great chemistry and great overall performances. They make Mario and Luigi feel like real people who are actually Italian plumbers from Brooklyn and not one-dimensional characters with no depth or personality at all. Dennis Hopper as King Koopa is also great. He's menacing and evil and perfectly villainous for this role. Now that I've covered why I believe that this movie has the necessary components to be great, and have backed up my claims with 2 reputable sources, I think it's fair to say that the Super Mario Bros. Movie is great. But what about Siskel and Ebert's opinion on the Super Mario Bros. Movie? They're 2 highly revered and respected critics who saw the film upon release and thought it was terrible. This is what they have to say.
It's called Super Mario Brothers, and it doesn't work at all. It's not as dazzling or as involving as the cutting-edge video games that would like to mirror. I also can't figure out exactly what age group this movie was made for. This movie can't decide whether it wants to be a flesh and blood film or a real video game. That kind of chase is boring compared with the urgency of a real video game where you're under constant pressure of time and your quarters running out. It takes a lot more imagination than what's been attempted with Super Mario Brothers to make a high-tech movie transfer.
While Siskel and Ebert are entitled to their opinions, I believe that their main criticisms are unfounded. Their 2 complaints are, simply put, that it isn't high energy enough and that it doesn't have a clear audience and tone in mind. Starting off with the high energy complaint, I am genuinely not sure where they got that complaint from. It doesn't have the urgency of losing quarters or running out of time because it's a movie. That's not how they work. They should know that. It's their job to watch movies. I think they've seen one before. I also find that this movie has many intense chase scenes and action scenes that are full of tension that I feel are well executed and have me invested in the stakes. Additionally, there's the complaint of tone. Now, when you first think about it, it makes sense. Mario is a franchise that is aimed at younger kids with nothing usually this creepy, and this movie is just PG, meaning they didn't go as far in the off-putting direction as they could have. However, I think this movie has a very clear-cut intended audience. Teenagers. While Mario is a game franchise that is suited for younger children, it's really meant to be a game franchise for everyone, and that includes teens. Many of them would be old enough to still enjoy Mario, but would want to see something a bit more darker and realistic. This would especially make sense for those who were younger kids when the first Mario Bros. Games released, and would then be 15 or 16 at the time. They've grown up with Mario, and they want to see him change with them. Additionally supporting this belief, I'm a teen, and I like this movie for exactly the reasons I suggested. While I can't say for sure what the attitude of teens would have been towards this movie in the 90s, I can say that I was someone who grew up playing Mario and then watched this movie and enjoyed it for being a slightly more weird and mature take on the franchise. So, with all of that, I think it's safe to say that Siskel and Ebert's take does not quite hold up, and Super Mario Bros. Is still a great film. In conclusion, Super Mario Bros. Is just a really fun movie. It's enjoyable to watch. It takes interesting risks and has all of the basic components that make a good movie, resulting in a great 104 minutes that you won't forget anytime soon. Would you enjoy this movie, Mrs. Korth? I'm not sure. Maybe not, but that's why it's a hot take. At the very least, at the end of this video, you can at least hopefully understand and appreciate why I find this movie to be truly great. Because that was the purpose of this video. I hope that it did that well. Goodbye.